You ever felt something off? Not in what she said, but in what she didn't say. You can't explain it, but deep inside your gut, a silent alarm goes off. You tell yourself you're overthinking. You tell yourself maybe you're just tired. But Carl Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." This is where men lose themselves, in the shadows of women they don't fully see. Because what she hides isn't in her words. It's in her micro-expressions, her pauses, her patterns, the way her eyes soften when she wants something, and the way her silence hardens when she doesn't. If she does this, run. It doesn't start loud. It starts quiet. She begins testing how much of yourself you'll give her before she's even earned it. She compliments your discipline, your ambition, your strength. But watch her eyes. They don't admire, they measure. Jung called this projection, when a person casts their inner world onto another. She isn't seeing you. She's seeing the reflection of the man she wishes she could manipulate. The first hidden sign is subtle idealization. She tells you you're different. Rare, not like the rest. It feels good, intoxicating even. But Jung warned, people don't fall in love, they project. Her praise isn't love, it's control disguised as fascination. She's not connecting with who you are, she's building the version she can later destroy. The second sign comes right after, devaluation. She begins small, teasing, withholding attention, comparing you to an invisible standard. You notice she now laughs at jokes she once ignored, but only when someone else tells them. You're being conditioned. Each time you react, she learns your emotional range. This is where the Stoic in you must awaken. Epictetus said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." If you chase her validation, you've already lost your freedom. The third sign, emotional dissonance. Her words and actions no longer match. She says she cares, but disappears when you're down. She talks about loyalty, yet flirts with absence. This confusion isn't random. It's deliberate. It keeps your nervous system in fight or flight mode, making you addicted to the highs and lows she creates. Jung would call it the anima possession. When a man becomes enslaved to the feminine archetype, he never integrated within himself. The Stoic understands that freedom is not detachment from emotion, it's mastery over it. So, when she plays hot and cold, the untrained man reacts. The trained man observes. He doesn't chase clarity from chaos, he creates it from within. The fourth hidden sign, the smile that doesn't reach her eyes. You'll notice it when you start pulling away. That smile, soft but hollow, is a mask of control. Jung once noted that the persona is what we would like to be, and what we want others to believe we are. That smile isn't warmth, it's armor. She uses charm not to connect, but to regain psychological territory she feels slipping away. If you feel drained after being around her, that's not chemistry, that's energy theft. Your intuition is your unconscious screaming for protection. But most men silence it because they're addicted to her mystery. Stoicism teaches the opposite. Observe desire, don't worship it. Then comes the fifth sign, sudden vulnerability. She opens up about her pain, her ex, her trauma, not to heal, but to hook. It's a manipulation tactic disguised as depth. Jung called it the shadow bait. She shares just enough darkness to make you believe only you can save her. The moment you step into that role, she owns you emotionally. Remember, empathy without boundaries becomes self-destruction. The sixth sign is subtle domination. She begins setting emotional rules. What you can say, how you should respond, what tone means caring. You start walking on eggshells, filtering your truth just to keep peace. But peace that costs your authenticity is psychological slavery. Marcus Aurelius would remind you, you have power over your mind, not outside events. So the Stoic man pauses. He doesn't argue with manipulation. He reveals it through calm presence. When she accuses, he listens. When she withdraws, he breathes. His silence becomes a mirror, reflecting her own unhealed patterns back to her. That's the power of stillness. It disarms games because it refuses to play. And finally, the seventh sign, spiritual inversion. She starts using your own philosophy against you. She'll say, "You're supposed to be calm, right? Or aren't you the Stoic one?" That's not respect, now that's mockery wrapped in intellectual play. Jung would say this is when the animus, the masculine aspect within a woman, tries to dominate the external masculine. She's no longer relating. She's competing. If she does this, run, not in anger but in awareness, because the more you argue, the more she feeds on your energy. Stoicism isn't coldness, it's clarity. It's seeing manipulation for what it is and choosing silence over chaos. But why do women like this exist? Jung had an answer. The shadow always seeks integration. When a woman hasn't met her own darkness, she projects it onto men. She tests, provokes, and confuses, not out of malice, but out of inner fragmentation. Yet the Stoic man doesn't hate her for it. He pities her. He sees the broken girl behind the seductive mask. He understands she's at war with herself. Not him. That's where most men fail. They try to fix her instead of freeing themselves. They confuse compassion with captivity, but the Stoic path demands self-respect before rescue, because the more you abandon yourself to heal someone who enjoys their wounds, the further you drift from your own purpose. There's a reason Jung said, "The meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed. But not every transformation is worth the cost. Some reactions burn. Some leave ashes where a man's soul used to be. So if she does this, if you feel the slow erosion of your peace, the quiet manipulation behind soft words, stop romanticizing her potential. Start observing her patterns. Because patterns don't lie. People do. The Stoic doesn't run from pain. He runs from illusion, and that's what makes him unbreakable. There's a quiet kind of suffering that men don't talk about. The kind that doesn't bleed, doesn't shout, but rots from within. The suffering of being slowly unmade by someone you thought was love. Carl Jung called this psychic vampirism, when one soul feeds on another without ever acknowledging it. And here's the tragedy. It only happens to men who feel deeply, to men who think they can save her pain by offering their peace. You try to understand her, thinking if you love harder, she'll love clearer. But Jung warned us, everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves. Her confusion mirrors your own. Her manipulation exposes the part of you that still believes love must hurt to be real. The Stoic man, however, turns his pain into perception. He observes the chaos, studies it, and then releases it. Because he knows, every time you break your boundaries for someone who wouldn't do the same, you're teaching the universe that your worth is negotiable. There's something almost spiritual about the way such women appear in a man's life. They come not to complete you, but to confront you, to test the fortress of your mind, to see whether you are the master of your emotions or the slave of her attention. And that test, if passed, awakens something terrifyingly powerful, indifference rooted in wisdom. That's the transformation Jung spoke of. Individuation. The moment you realize her games don't define you, but reveal you. She flirts with control, you answer with calm. She withdraws affection, you stay grounded. She storms off, you stay centered. You stop reacting, and the game ends, because your peace starves her chaos. But here's the twist. When you stop playing, she panics. Suddenly, the one who once manipulated you feels exposed. Because your silence is no longer weakness, it's authority. You've stopped being the mirror that reflects her drama back to her, and now she sees herself for the first time. Jung would say her shadow is meeting consciousness, and that's why she lashes out, not at you, but at the reality she can't control anymore. And yet, this is the point most men crumble. Because she'll return, softer, sweeter, nostalgic. She'll tell you she misses the old you. But what she really misses is the version of you who tolerated her confusion. The Stoic must remember, discipline in emotion is not cruelty, it's clarity. You don't return to chaos because it finally looks calm. You don't mistake silence for peace when it comes from manipulation. You walk away, not to prove her wrong, but to protect your soul. Now here's where the deeper psychology begins. Jung said every man carries within him the anima, the feminine essence of his psyche. When that inner feminine is immature, he seeks chaos outside to complete himself. He falls for women who are emotional storms, because part of him unconsciously believes that's what passion is supposed to feel like. But once you integrate your anima, once you understand and honor the emotional part of yourself, you stop seeking madness in women. You seek calm. You seek connection. You stop needing her validation to feel masculine. You become your own anchor. That's when the Stoic path begins to bear fruit, because Stoicism is not about being emotionless. It's about emotional freedom. It's the ability to stand in front of manipulation and not flinch, to listen to lies and not absorb them, to feel desire and not lose yourself in it.